What's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video day, and today the Indianapolis Colts beat the Cincinnati Bengals 27-14 in the preseason. Bengals didn't play any of their starters. The Colts did. Anthony Richardson and Michael Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor got to play a little bit in this game, mainly in the first quarter, but I think they did go a little bit deeper than that. I believe played a little bit into the second quarter. But, this was a good game. Colts get the win 27-14. Not a lot of scoring in the first half. Only 14 points in the first half. But final score is 27-14 as there were a total of 27 points for both teams in the final two quarters. Things got interesting in the fourth quarter, though, and we'll get into that. All right, so starting off with the scoring summary, 27-14 is the final score. The first score for the Colts was Anthony Richardson throwing a 9-yard touchdown pass to Adonai Mitchell. Love A Mitch, or people call him AD. People call him I've also heard people call him A Mitch as well. As a Longhorns fan, obviously, the Longhorns had a great 1-2 punch last year with Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell, and I'm really excited to see how those two guys pan out with their respective teams, with the Xavier Worthy with the Chiefs and Mitchell with the Colts. I think both of them are going to be studs. Now, out of the two of them, even though Worthy was more of the wide receiver one with the Longhorns, I think Adonai Mitchell is going to be the big star. Out of the two Texas guys. He gives me a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown vibes. Not talking about as a wide receiver, as a player, with how they play. I'm just talking about with how many teams skipped over him. He just feels like one of those guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown. How Amon-Ra St. Brown can name every single guy that was drafted before him. And he has it. He has it, and I've seen him talk about it. He has it written down, and he reads it every day as he wakes it up. That's the type of vibes I get from Adonai Mitchell. I think it was something like 7 or 8 wide receivers. Maybe it was a little bit more wide receivers that were drafted before Adonai Mitchell, and I'm really excited for this kid to go out there and play. Honestly, as a Houston Texans fan, knowing the Colts in the division, I want to root for him, but it's so hard to root for him with my favorite team being in the same division, but it also scares me as a Texans fan. Knowing they already have a really, really good wide receiver one in Michael Pittman Jr., and they have some other solid wide receivers on the roster, for them to add a guy in like Adonai Mitchell, it scares me. I also find it very hard to root for him, with him being on the Colts, but I want him to have success. I just don't know about his team, though. But Anthony Richardson does throw a 9-yard touchdown pass to him. Now, here's where the mistake comes for Anthony Richardson, because he does throw a pick six to Jordan Battle. It's a 14-yard interception return, and it was 7-7. But then their kicker shows off the leg when Spencer Schrader, I think it's Schrader, hits a 56-yard field goal. There were only 2 field goals in this game for both teams, both by Schrader. 56-yarder to make it 10-7. Then after a Jason Bean 1-yard touchdown run, the former Kansas quarterback. Now, I know that's got to be weird for Jason Bean and Adonai Mitchell, because I just talking about the Longhorns and Adonai Mitchell. Jason Bean, that's the Kansas quarterback right there. Kansas and Texas are rivals, and I've watched Texas just kick Kansas's butt for years and years. This year was a little bit of a closer matchup between the two of them, because Jason Bean was doing some good things at quarterback for Kansas last year. That's a big reason why he was able to get a contract with the Colts as an unsigned or undrafted free agent, getting a deal there. Has a strong arm, a nice mobile quarterback as well, and shows it off right there with a 1-yard touchdown to make it 17-7. Then another field goal, like I mentioned, for Spencer Schrader. It's a 41-yarder at 20-7. And then here for the Cincinnati Bengals, another draft guy I really like, Logan Woodside. Well, that's not who's the draft guy, but Logan Woodside throws a 21-yard touchdown pass to Jermaine Burton, a wide receiver from Alabama. I really enjoyed watching this kid play at Alabama last year, and I don't know how things turn out for him with him being on a stacked wide receiver, core. This is a wide receiver, group that has T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. But I think he is a guy that can go out there and show out. Sometimes you will see with a great quarterback like Joe Burrow, he can make wide receivers who are solid turn into great wide receiver or like good wide receivers. So, Joe Burrow makes the wide receivers around him better. And I saw a couple of wide receivers last year that out of nowhere just started making some nice plays thanks to the good throws by Joe Burrow. I saw some clips today, actually, of some guys that were stepping up in a couple games where the Bengals, be without Jamar Chase or T. Higgins, and they'd have guys step up and guys that are deep in the depth chart, or not deep in the depth chart, but just like wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, wide receiver type guys who are looking pretty good. And I think a lot of that had to do with Joe Burrow. And I'm not saying that Jermaine Burton is a guy that is going to be a wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 3 type that's gonna look better because a great quarterback's throwing the football in Joe Burrow. But I think he's a good wide receiver already. Playing with such a good quarterback in Joe Burrow is going to make him even a better wide receiver. I really like him. Excited to see what he can do. And look, going in, I don't know how things will be for his rookie year this year. But I think going into his second year is where you might want to watch out for Jermaine Burton, because T. Higgins is potentially going to be a free agent and very well might leave the Bengals after this year. And then it's just Jamar Chase. So I feel like the 2025 season is the year where you might see Jermaine Burton have a big year for the Cincinnati Bengals. But he's a guy I really like from the Bengals. And then Demetric Felton, a guy who has played for the Cleveland Browns, the Bengals' rival, had a 40-yard touchdown run, a big touchdown run for the Indianapolis Colts to make it 27-14. And Schrader was good on all extra points today and the touchdowns. They scored a total of 3 touchdowns. He knocked all of the extra points in. Game leaders, Anthony Richardson. Even though there were a couple other quarterbacks to play in this game for Indianapolis, Anthony Richardson still led them in passing yards, 8 for 14, 86 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. Does that interception, but outside the interception looked really good in this game in a limited playing time. Logan Woodside was the only quarterback to play for the Bengals today. No Joe Burrow, no Jake Browning. He throws 16 for 21, 98 passing yards with 1 passing touchdown. Cincinnati was focusing on their run game in this game. Tyler Goodson, who made the mistake dropping the ball against my Houston Texans. Thank you, Tyler Goodson. I'm a big fan of Tyler Goodson. 13 carries for 57 rushing yards in this game. Good game for him. I know he got a lot of hate last year after dropping that Gardner Minshew pass. I know it was kind of 50-50. I heard a lot of blame towards Gardner Minshew, a lot of blame towards Tyler Goodson. But I'm excited to see how he looks after last season, because that has to feel terrible to know that potentially your drop catch, the drop catch that you had is a reason why your team did not make the playoffs. I mean, look, anything can happen in football, so there is no guarantee if he catches that ball the Colts score a touchdown. But there's a good chance the Colts score a touchdown and beat the Houston Texans if Tyler Goodson catches that football right there. And I think that probably ate him up. That probably ate him up after the game and throughout the offseason. And that probably wanted to make him be better. And he had a really good performance in this game with 13 carries for 57 rushing yards. So I'm excited to see how he looks this year. But yeah, he's going to be interesting, a guy to keep eye out on. For the Bengals, they were led in rushing yards by Tavion Williams, 11 carries, 66 rushing yards. And then for the receiving yards, Treadwell led the Colts with receiving yards of 2 receptions, 33 receiving yards, while back to Jermaine Burton led the Bengals in receiving yards with 4 receptions for 56 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. I'm going to go over some other stats in this game. Like I mentioned, the only quarterback for the Bengals was Logan Woodside. But like I mentioned for the Colts, there were other quarterbacks in this game. Jason Bean, Kansas quarterback, 52 passing yards. Back to the Longhorns, Sam Ehlinger. Love Sam Ehlinger, 8 for 13, 8 for 8 for 13 with 48 passing yards. Then Keaton Slovis, I hope I said his name right, 5 for 6 with 31 passing yards. Mentioned Felton's 40-yard touchdown run. He had 4 carries for 44 rushing yards. So 3 other carries, only 4 rushing yards. So he did have that very nice 40-yard touchdown, but outside of that, not that much of a bright day. I mean, it was a good day because he had a 40-yard touchdown, but his other carries didn't do much. Evan Hull had 9 carries for 30 rushing yards. Xavier Scott had 3 carries for 19 rushing yards. The quarterback, Jason Bean, like I said, he's a mobile quarterback, 3 carries, 15 rushing yards. Jonathan Taylor got to get some action in this game, 4 carries with 15 rushing yards. Anthony Richardson ran for 3 yards. The quarterback, Logan Woodside, ran for 10 yards for the Bengals. Outside of Jermaine Burton with the 56 receiving yards, there were only a total of 3 players for the Bengals with double-digit receiving yards. Travion Williams with 5 receptions for 11 receiving yards. That is the running back. And then Eric All Jr. had 1 reception for 10 receiving yards. Back to the Colts, like I mentioned, Laquan Treadwell had 2 receptions for 33 receiving yards, while Alec Pierce is another guy I really like in that Colts wide receiver room, 2 receptions with 31 receiving yards. Anthony Gold, 4 receptions for 25 receiving yards. Second-year tight end Jordan Murray, 1 reception for 22 receiving yards. Adonai Mitchell had 2 receptions for 18 receiving yards with 1 touchdown. Kylan Granson had 2 receptions for 17 receiving yards. Michael Pittman Jr. only had 1 catch for 12 yards. Same thing goes for Ashton Doolin, who had 1 catch for 11 yards. And then both Xavier Scott and Tyler Goodson both had 2 receptions and both 10 yards. And then former Eagle Greg Ward, 1 reception, 9 yards. And why I mention former Eagle, because Shane Steichen is the former Eagles offensive coordinator. I doubt he makes their 53-man roster, but he could be a practice squad guy just because of the history with Shane Steichen. And then Jonathan Taylor also had 1 reception for 8 receiving yards. There were some fumbles in this game. Logan Woodside did lose a fumble, so not that much of a good day for Logan Woodside, the third-string quarterback. That fumble was recovered by Michael Tootsie, and Anthony Richardson also fumbled, but Quentin Nelson was able to make sure the Colts did not lose the football. All right, defensive stats. The Colts were led by Ronnie Harrison Jr. with 5 tackles. He had 1 tackle for loss. The defense had 2 sacks, 1 sack for rookie Letu, and also a sack for Jannard Avery. They had a total of 6 tackles for loss. The Bengals only had 1 sack, and that was for Justin Blazak. They had 6 tackles for loss. Let me know your thoughts on the Colts winning 27-14 in the final preseason game. And next time both these teams will be playing football will be Week 1, when the Indianapolis Colts will be heading. We'll be heading to Indianapolis because they're going from Cincinnati to Indianapolis to face my Houston Texans in Week 1. Colts fans, if you're watching, get ready for Week 1 because it's going to be a great matchup against the Houston Texans. And I'm thinking the Texans are going to walk out of Indianapolis with a W. And then the Bengals will be staying in Cincinnati to face the New England Patriots. I'm thinking that the Bengals will most likely get a Week 1 W. Unless the Patriots defense just shows out and Burrow doesn't look very healthy. But we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts on the Colts winning 27-14 in the comment section, and peace out.